So, yeah, Maynard James Keenan. Tool. Here's the deal. I'll be honest with you. I know this dude. Yeah, I know I have friends who know him. I know people that love him. He's been a big fan of comedy. I find him to be a very interesting guy. I've listened, before I talked to him, before I knew I was going to talk to him, I'd listened to a couple of his records. They rocked. I dug it. But Tool is one of those bands where it's like you're in or you're out. And, I was in for a record or two, but, I felt a little at odds because I know that people who love Tool fucking love Tool. They love them. And I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of guy, if I dig a band, and this happens more as I get older than when I was younger, but like, I remember the first time I heard the Flaming Lips, I had to go out and buy everything by the Flaming Lips. The Thermals. I saw the Thermals in, where was I? South by Southwest or somewhere. And I was like, who the fuck are these guys? I gotta have everything by the Thermals. I'm a big, I gotta have everything by that guy. I like one song. I gotta have all of it. I almost interviewed Alice Cooper. I went out and bought every Alice Cooper album there is. And then it fell through. And I'm not a big Alice Cooper fan, but now I got all of them. Am I going to listen to all of them? I don't know. But I always wanted to get into Tool, but I felt like the window had closed for me. Whether it was I was too old or I missed that stage in my life where Tool was going to be, completely relevant to me and up in my head and in my heart all day long, like one needs to be when you are into something. And then, I knew I was going to interview Maynard, and I got respect for the guy. He's out there in the desert. He's making wine. He's making music. He's a fucking impressive cat. He does what the fuck he wants to. He's made some insanely great rock music. He's making nice wine now. He does what he wants, this guy. And he's an interesting cat. And I'd only listened to one or two records. So when I knew I was going to interview him, I went out and I procured everything by Tool. And I sat there like an angry teenage boy, and I listened to it day and night. I listened to Tool and the other stuff. I listened to it all, man, for a couple of weeks. It was just all Tool all the time. I put it into my head because I wanted to be right. I wanted to look him in the eye and know his shit. But the weird thing is I've done with this at times with a couple of other musical guests, and quite honestly, it doesn't matter. The guy's a guy. He's going to be sitting there. What, are we going to go through every record? Are we going to go record to record? Are we going to go song for song? I'm going to talk to the cat like he's a guy. But I had a head full of fucking Tool when I talked to him. Just know that. I will do that occasionally. I will fill my head up with fucking music by the person I'm talking to, even if you can't tell. Now, obviously, I didn't get, I know some of you are thinking, well, the John Cale one, you didn't have the new one. I didn't, but I listened to as much John Cale as I could. I do what I can. I can do that kind of research because I enjoy listening to music. And it's really the most, and that research is so irrelevant to a conversation that it's not even research. It's just I want to know the tone of what comes out of this artist, man. I want to know the tone of it. I want to feel it in my heart and in my head. The sad thing is you can't force your heart to take some shit in. Your heart's going to open when it's going to open. It's going to open without you knowing it. You can't force it, but you can't fill yourself up with it. And maybe you'll have that moment. Maybe you have that moment. Sometimes with music, you got to be a little younger for that stuff. Especially for stuff that resonates with the emotions of fucking anger. Yeah, look, man, I still listen to AC/DC. I got all of them. I've had them all since high school. It's still there. My heart is still wide open. And my mind is open to Tool. And a couple of songs got into my heart. So let's talk to Maynard James Keenan, and I hope I do justice for you fucking people that love Tool. We'll see. I enjoyed talking to him. What did you drive up in, man?
A smart car.
How is that?
It fits in L.A.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you live here?
No, I live in Arizona.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So whose smart car is that?
Mine. I leave it in a garage here.
What was it, like $12? How much is a smart car?
$12.50.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like you're driving half a car?
No, not at all. It's actually, I'm used to driving a truck, so it's kind of fun.
A truck.
I drive a Tundra because I work in the vineyard and stuff, so that tends to be my vehicle.
Well, thanks for that wine. My guest is Maynard. I never do that either. I never do the, my guest is Maynard James Keenan, Vintner. Is that what it is? A Vintner?
Vintner.
Is it Vintner or Vintner?
The vintner of our discontent.
Yes. Yeah. You've changed. You were a vintner of discontent, and now you're actually a vintner of wine. So tell me, like, you sent us the wine, and I personally, sadly, don't drink, but my girlfriend will drink the shit out of wine. And she drank yours, and it's got a little jacked alcohol content, that particular one, doesn't it?
That particular one is a little higher than the ones we normally have, yeah.
Does that happen naturally?
Yeah, it just ends up being whatever the year is, whatever the ripeness on that block
Is that how it works?
Yeah, I tend to go for the lower alcohol. We pick generally lower. Just because it ends up being more approachable, and you don't have to like suffer the next day.
Yeah. You don't want you don't want to get into Mad Dog 2020 territory.
No.
Just sweet fuck you up wines.
Yeah.
You should put one out for your fans though. That's just, you call it that, a sweet fuck you up wine.
Just call it Go Fuck Yourself Cabernet.
Well, why don't you? They would sell that at Whole Foods.
I don't. You would think, because there's a couple wines I call Bitch and stuff like that, and the Death of Elvis, and like that kind of thing. Like, you figure, why couldn't I just call a wine Go Fuck Yourself?
Yeah, maybe abbreviate it.
Yeah.
GFY. What does that mean? This is really good. So wait, when you do wines, now I know this is something. How long have you been doing the wine thing?
I started dabbling around. Broke ground around 2001, 2002. But,
so you bought the property?
Yeah. Well, actually, I lived in Arizona
already
in '95. I moved out of here and then lived there, and basically broke ground. After looking at the soil there, I kind of went, "Oh, hey, I think that might be suited for vineyards here."
You decided that?
Yeah, I was there for a while, kind of staring at the terrain, having been around the world, seeing different wine regions, and went, I think we could grow grapes here. So I broke ground in 2002. Kind of got my feet, really wet in 2004.
Yeah.
I've been making my own wine since mid-2009.
What, just at the house, in the tub, or?
No, in an actual full functioning winery.
Okay.
As an apprentice, kind of.
I just pictured sort of a meth sort of situation, just a trailer with some tubs, grape juice.
Foil on the windows.
Yeah, exactly. It's Maynard making his wine again. Smoke coming out.
Yeah.
But you're okay, so you apprenticed.
Yeah.
When did the fascination with this happen? I mean, was it, in the middle of the Tool experience, in the middle of being a fucking balls-to-the-wall rock star? You're like, I'm going to take it down a notch and focus.
Well, I think the misconception on the rock thing is that that's what I had to set out to do. It's kind of an accident. I kind of grew up in a small town. I worked in, peach orchards as a kid in the summer.
Seriously?
Yeah. Population 2,000, small town.
Where'd you grow up?
Michigan. I was born in Ohio, but I grew up in Michigan.
Well, yeah, I think I'm not sure if you got lucky or not there. Ohio's a little frightening, but I guess they're both.
I got out.
What was that like? I mean, how old were you? What happened, man?
I left around 13 or so. Went to Michigan.
You struck out on your own at 13?
No. My dad actually, the divorce parents. My dad lived in Michigan. He was the high school teacher.
Oh, your dad's a high school teacher.
So I moved to go live with him because I started to get in trouble in Ohio. So
yeah, like what?
My mom was like, "You got to go live with him because I see this not turning out well." So,
what were you doing? What was happening?
Just starting to drink a little beer here and there.
Yeah, driving around and stealing cars, or
not quite yet.
Yeah. So you're in Ohio. Your parents got divorced when you were like 11 or 12.
3.
So it took 10 years for that to really kind of ferment, so to speak.
Yeah,
sort of like for you to really kind of
delay fermentation. Yeah,
age into an angry grape.
Yeah, the angry young Irish Italian kid.
Oh, is that where you? Oh, yeah, that's pretty. That's passionately dangerous.
Yeah,
Irish and Italian. Yeah. So so your dad was a teacher since you were your whole life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he worked in Ohio as a teacher. Then when the divorce happened, he moved to Michigan to teach up there.
Or to get far away from?
I think he just wanted to go more where the woods. He's a hunter, fisherman. He's kind of a woodsy guy. So, he went up there to live because it's a pretty beautiful country up there along Lake Michigan.
Yeah, and what was your mom like?
She lived in Ohio and she sold soap. She
sold soap.
Not Avon, but that kind of
Amway?
Not Tupperware and not Amway, but some other thing that was very similar to
some other big idea
that didn't work. Yeah,
it didn't work.
Some pyramid scam that folded.
But they got her money on the kit. Yeah. Here's the kit.
Yep.
Go at it.
Definitely
get some other people to sell the soap, and you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah, definitely got the money on the kit.
And did she get married again?
Yeah.
How was that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't say anything good about someone, make sure you say it very well. He's a cunt.
Yeah. Really? Wayne, what brand of cunt?
Just creepy cunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bad shit.
Yeah.
So that was another reason to get out. And it's probably why you just started freaking out, right? Just started fucking off. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, we're done here.
Yeah.
wasn't old enough to bury him in the backyard, so
yeah.
Figure it's probably time to move on.
But well, you would have. Is that guy still around?
I had no idea.
Oh, good. Yeah. Do you talk to your mom though?
She passed away.
Yeah. But the cunt might still walk the earth.
He's still cunting about, I'm sure.
So you move up there with your dad, and you're out there working on farms?
Yeah, we had our own garden in the summer, working, which of course as a kid you hate, but working in the garden, kind of doing some stuff in the orchards because we were surrounded by orchards, peach and apple orchards, so I worked in the orchards quite a bit.
Did he see that, or did you see that as sort of a rehabilitation? Sort of like, was he aware that whatever the hell you were going through there, you needed out? And...
It was an interesting time in my life because that was basically right at the end of junior high, going into high school, and before I'd moved there, his house wasn't properly grounded, and they got hit by lightning, and it blew up their TV.
Yeah.
So I spent all of high school with no TV.
They didn't replace it for 4 years?
He's like, you know what? Let's just leave it alone. But, we'll go do other things. So I got in.
That's smart.
He was a wrestling coach. I got into cross country and wrestling, and we, fishing and working in the garden and stuff like that. So I got more into my head, like writing and doing that kind of thing.
Better than jail.
Yeah.
Better than sitting there rotting your brain out on television.
Yeah. So I didn't drink that whole, as soon as I moved there, that tendency to go out with your buddies in high school and drink. I couldn't really do that because he's a teacher at the high school. He's the wrestling coach. You're busted. No matter what, you're going to get busted.
No winning.
So I just didn't do it.
So you just hunkered down?
Yeah.
What kind of kid were you? I mean, what kind of stuff were you writing? Was it sort of like the
awful poetry?
So
awful limericks and stuff.
Oh, just limericks?
Yeah.
There was no, you didn't, you can't look back at that stuff and see the seeds of the Tool lyrics that changed the minds of many people that age?
God, no. They're just really?
You put just rhymes.
You put those on a piece of paper, did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you start working in the vineyards and you start doing outdoor shit and you wrestled. And when did what kind of kid were you? Who were your what kind of music were you doing? What kind of car were you driving?
Didn't have a car at all till after the military.
Really?
I didn't drive at all in high school. I ran everywhere. I was a cross country kid.
God damn, an athlete.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
I like the weird athletes, not the jock, football team, basketball team,
the
baseball
loner
team. I was we were with wrestling, you're on your own. You're on the mat. It's you against some other dude who wants to rip your head off.
Right. And
then in cross country, you're running from guys who are also running from you.
You're kind of being chased.
Yeah. Chasing and chased.
That's a fucking solitary game, that long distance thing. But it must feel great. I mean, how long did you have to run? What was a long distance race? I don't know.
In high school, it was just over 3 miles.
Oh, okay.
So it was a good solid race.
I wish I had done that. Yeah, I never did any athletics.
In college, it was 5 or 6 mile races.
Oh yeah. You stayed with it?
Yeah, a little bit.
So who were you listening to music? Did it have any influence on your life? Were you thinking at that time, this makes me feel better or anything?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always those little seeds of things that pop up when I look back.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to come to see you, and I had a bunch of questions for you because just the comedy background. I'm in the process of writing a biography with a friend of mine. She's kind of handling this. It's kind of a semi-autobiography.
She's writing your biography with your help.
Yeah. So we're basically tag teaming on every time something comes up, I go, oh. Let's just see how far we can go with this. I've been interviewing old friends who were also influenced by people in our lives.
Sure.
We're basically talking about the people that were influencing us.
Okay. What do you got?
Individuals and stuff like that. But then, just talking to you, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go back to the people that I didn't meet, but I was influenced by, which are early comedy records. I'm trying to think of what was the first comedy record I had or saw.
Uh-huh.
So I was going to ask you that because, of course, you got into. You eventually got into comedy. It's what was it in your early age? Did you have an album?
That I really remember?
A show that you saw?
I remember watching comics on talk shows during the day, like after school, like Merv Griffin and stuff.
Right.
And also I remember, my grandmother used to love comics. So did my grandfather. So I sort of enjoyed like seeing older guys. Like I remember the Dean Martin roast and stuff. But, like Buddy Hackett and Don Rickles and those guys, I thought, they were hilarious. And then I think the first kind of more radical stuff I got, it must have been I must have been like 10 or 11. I somehow managed to, I had Carlin's Class Clown. I had Cheech and Chong records. Right?
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of them. I remember, class, shut up.
Yeah.
Dave's not here, man. I remember like...
it's raining cats and dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was that riff? They did that whole... I think I might have had that earlier. The it looks like dog shit, tastes like... Yeah, must be dog shit, that old joke. But they did a riff on that.
Yeah.
I think I remember having the Wedding album... Big Bamboo, Los Chochinos, or what? I don't remember which one was that. But I had a couple of Carlin records. I remember getting Richard Pryor. I don't remember which Richard Pryor and Steve Martin's records when they came out. Yeah. I remember seeing Steve Martin on his first tour.
Right.
And then once I got a little older and things got a little darker. When I started smoking cigarettes and all my heroes became drug addicts, things started to shift and I had to understand different things. But those were the first ones. Why? Which ones did you have?
Same
ones?
Yeah, same. That was like, I remember sitting out on, a friend of mine had one of those like battery operated little turntables.
Yeah. That would close up into a suitcase?
Because we weren't allowed to listen to that Cheech and Chong record.
Right.
Or the two Steve Martin records. That was like...
Those were racy? Steve Martin?
Well, it's like, that cat was the best fuck I ever had. Like that, in a Christian Baptist household, that was not good.
You grew up with a lot of religion?
Baptists.
Like
Ohio.
Hardcore Ohio Baptist. I don't know what that means, but I just said it like it was a specific type of Baptist.
A Bible in one hand and a machine gun in the other, ready to go annihilate.
So for the
Michigan was less so. That was
not now. I mean, but it's. I think you're right though. I think there's a little bit of a different flavor. There's more of the Nuge flavor, which is less about religion in Michigan.
Yeah,
and more just about like I want to kill things and brown people are scary.
Yeah, I lived around a lot of those people, but most of the people that like think that way, I met in Ohio, not in Michigan.
Right.
Most of the people around me in Michigan were everybody's like grabbing a shovel to shovel the snow. It doesn't matter, where you came from.
So the Ohio thing, till you're about 13, you had the Jesus shoved in your head?
Yeah.
Hard?
Every hole.
Yeah.
Every hole. Jesus went in.
You were gang raped by Jesus?
Yeah.
And what did...
It was a Maynard sandwich.
Oh, God.
With Jesus bread.
What kind of... what was your reaction to that at the time? I mean, did you just, lock into step with that shit or what?
Yeah, just a lot of things that kind of went into it not making a lot of sense. Like, because I'm kind of a logical person and a fairly reasonable person.
Yeah.
And it didn't really, some of it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Things, I saw a lot of holes in people's behavior. Like, you say this thing, but you're doing this thing.
Like the stepdad?
Yeah, just none of this makes sense.
Yeah. How do you telling me this and you're doing that?
Yeah.
And when you got to Michigan, was that loosened?
Yeah, because you're too busy doing things. You're too busy. We lived in a house that was a quarter mile away from the main road.
Yeah.
And that main road was dirt.
Right.
That got to the paved road. So when we were going to go to work or go to school, we were up at 5 a.m. with the snowblower and the shovel, making our way out.
Practical things.
When you're doing the practical things,
we need food.
Yeah, practical. When you're doing that, when you're having to cut wood, build the wood stove.
Yeah. Did you hunt?
I didn't really hunt. My dad did.
Yeah.
But but for winter we had venison on the table because you go out the first day of bow season, first day of rifle season, and get 1-2 deer. For the summer or for the winter, and dress it, and that's what we had for the winter was the venison.
See, that always fascinates me because I didn't grow up with any of that. My dad had a few guns, but not for the right reasons. I'm not sure why he had them, but he was
because you never know.
Well, it was either going to go against him or somebody coming in the house. It was never clear, but it could have gone either way some days. Get out or I'll kill me. But I've always, I've known people that grew up around hunting and just I've seen some of it. But I mean, were you like, sitting there watching your dad take apart this deer?
Yeah, it was a very fascinating process, and I have never actually killed an animal myself to prepare it for that, other than like a fish, fishing. So I feel a little hypocritical eating meat, a little bit, but it's just the society we live in. You that's part of your thing. But I have dressed animals.
What is it? You mean taking the skin off and gutted them?
No, I just put little dresses on them, like hats.
Well, that's a nice thing. Yeah. Look at the little doggy in the
Now
sweater.
let's eat you. Yeah, now we're gonna eat you.
But you've pulled the things out and said, "What's this?
Yeah,
I got these.
Will this stick to the wall?"
Yeah. What do we do with these? Was your dad the kind of dude that's sort of like, we gotta dry some, we're gonna cure some, we're gonna freeze some, we're gonna cook some?
We mostly just froze it.
Yeah. No jerky.
No jerky.
There's no jerky in the past.
Quite a few jerkies in our neighborhood, but no jerky in the cupboard.
So what kind of music were you listening to, though?
Back then, I had early stuff. I had a kind of a hippie aunt who got me into like Joni Mitchell and stuff like that. But
really?
Of course, I was the guy.
I can hear that in the Tool records. There's a lot of Joni Mitchell there.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was re-listening to some, and I'm like, wow, I never noticed it before, but this is a lot like Joni Mitchell.
That and Steve Martin Brothers album with the banjo.
There's a lot
on
of
the other
Steve
side.
Martin in there too. Yeah, just a lot of lighthearted, kind of goofy shit in those Tool albums. And
God bless him.
Yeah, but so Joni Mitchell, that's the first one that comes out.
Whenever we record vocals, I always have like a room full of people just hold hands while I do the vocals. And
flowers everywhere. Yeah, incest burning.
Yeah.
Oh man. But okay, so Joni Mitchell. What else did the hippie aunt deliver?
Well, that was the other thing. She went, not only that, but she also gave me like Black Sabbath,
Right.
Black Sabbath.
Sure, the first one. Yeah.
So
that'll do it.
That's how she balanced it out. It's here's some melody, here's a person who's writing from the heart, doing her own producing and writing and engineering and all that. But then here's the stuff you're really going to want to listen to.
This is stuff that comes from somewhere else.
Yes.
It's your job to figure it out. Chase this devil down.
But I think the first albums that I actually bought with my own money, there's a couple, but the Steve Martin album was like the second album I ever purchased with allowance.
The first one with Happy Feet on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And before that, I think it was like a Jackson 5 album. But then all of a sudden, when I could actually slip out and grab the record, it was like, the Steve Martin one.
The comedy stuff.
Yeah, but I ended up, I saw, it was weird, I'm thinking back, what comedians did I see at all as growing up? And I didn't see a lot.
Yeah.
But I saw 3 times from the time I was getting out of junior high all the way to graduation. I saw Red Skelton 3 times.
Was that his region?
Yeah, I guess Michigan.
Yeah, because he's a Midwestern guy.
Yeah, so I saw him 3 times. I saw Red
with
Skelton.
With your dad, or
yeah.
Your dad would take you to see Red Skelton do his clown. He was a clown.
Yeah,
he did a clown thing mostly, right?
Yeah, a lot of theatrical sketch stuff, and then he would do
his face.
Yeah,
didn't he? Was it the Happy Hobo or something? He had some character.
Yeah, he did something like that.
I remember really vague TV memories of the Red Skelton show. How old are you?
I'm 40. I'll be 49 next month.
So I'm 49 too, but I remember black and white. It must have been the late 60s, right? Or we were real little, but he had a show on TV, and you kind of liked him because he was. I don't know if he was a bad guy, right? Is he one of the bad guys?
No, I think he was a good guy. I think because when I just watching him, I was already into other comedy by then when I was actually seeing him live. So it was it's almost like a little flashback to go, oh, a lot of the guys that I'm into, I bet they were into him. There had to
be some sort of legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I went to see, I know I saw the Steve Martin concert, and I know that I saw George Carlin at the Kiva Auditorium, but I think I was already in 4th or 5th grade when I saw Carlin. And then in terms of other big name comedy acts, I don't remember going to see any more as a kid. Did you?
No, I didn't see anything. After that, no.
Yeah, but I loved comedy. What did comedy do for you? Were you still how dark were you? Was it?
As soon as I saw a Monty Python episode or Woody Allen's Sleeper, I was like, I'm in. Yeah. This is what I was waiting for.
Right.
Was this kind of stuff.
Right.
I didn't know it at the time, and when the first time I saw that first season of Kids in the Hall on HBO was this is genius, and all my friends standing around looking at me what are you seeing that we're not seeing?
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of friends were they? Were they
I guess boring, dead. They were dead.
Dead inside.
Blind.
Did not connect.
Yeah.
So, because I know you have sort of a history with the comedy community. We'll get to that. I want to get through. Let's get through Tool.
All right.
Let's get up to speed. So, okay, so you're running a lot. You're running from things. You're wrestling people on mats. You're helping your dad gut animals. Occasionally listening to Joni Mitchell records and tossing in some Black Sabbath, and Steve Martin's there when you need him.
Right.
And somehow or another, you've been dragged to Red Skeleton 3 times in your life by your father. But I imagine that was a bonding thing, and you had a nice time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So then, like at some point, you're like, "Well, this is not going to be the life for me forever." What was that? What was that? Was that when you joined the forces?
Yeah. Wasn't sure what I was going to do out of
After high school.
Yeah. But my dad definitely said, when you graduate, here's the deal.
Yeah.
You're paying rent for your room, or you're cutting wood for your room, or you're getting a job and getting the hell out of here.
Uh-huh.
I went, I don't even understand the words you're using right now. I don't know. What are those? What language are you speaking?
All 3 options seem really shitty.
Yeah. I don't like, is there a 4th option?
Where I can just continue doing what I did in high school? Is that on the list?
I didn't see it anywhere on the list. So I basically cut wood for the summer, but I ended up, I saw Stripes, and that pretty much set the hook. Like, it can't be that bad. I can go hang out with Bill Murray.
Yeah, again, comedy set the pace.
Yeah.
You're like, if that's what the military is, I like that you believe that as a real representation of the possibilities in the military.
Yeah, well, because you also had the Army College Fund, which is going to help you get through. You can save up money, you put money in, and you get,
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice. If you don't get sent somewhere and killed,
right.
you could get that college paid for.
If you just go in and just basically dodge bullets, they kind of come at you pretty quickly, so you have to dodge pretty quickly. If you can get out of the way of this lead flying at you, we'll give you up to and including $5,000 toward college.
That's
it was $20,000, but I'm exaggerating.
Right.
It was like, here, we'll give you $50 cash money.
You can have it up front if you want
to dodge this bullet.
But so you entered what force?
Army.
And you went in just as a private, or how's that?
Private, and then I took some tests, and I realized that I was one of those lazy underachievers, and they quickly got me into the West Point Prep School over in Jersey.
Really?
Yes, I ended up getting my appointment to West Point, and then declining at last minute to go to art school. Dumbass. Wow. I could be like...
Could have been a general.
I could be killing lots of people right now.
Sure, yeah, from your desk.
From my desk.
Without even getting dirty. They got the technology now.
I could watch it on video.
Oh, God, man.
I am all powerful.
You would have been quite a different... I doubt you would have added Maynard to your name.
No.
You would have just been General James Keenan.
Yeah, because who's going to take a general named Maynard seriously?
No, generals are not Maynards.
Maybe Myron.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
General Myron.
General Myron. Yeah, that's a Jerry Lewis general. Myron, a lady. Salute. But all right. So in school you didn't do that well. Were you still fighting?
I think what it was is
your dad
because
was a teacher.
But I was coming from Ohio to Michigan, so the scores that my dad saw on my tests, coming from Ohio, where I was not inspired at all.
Those were Baptist scores.
And not pushed. Right. No, they weren't great. But I wasn't being challenged. So he just assumed that I was a slower learner.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me in like the lowest level math class in high school, which I'm just sleeping through because it's like, watching snails move.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got into the prep school for West Point, they're hitting you with, it's like a year of preparatory before West Point, and they're hitting you with, within a month and a half, you're being hit with all of your textbooks from your freshman year, like all the way through these books. And then the next 6 weeks is like your sophomore year, all the way through, just jamming every level of algebra, calculus, all that stuff down your throat. And I was like, I was firing it now. Now it's now it's a challenge, and I'm rising.
And you wanted to win.
I wanted to win.
Yeah.
But it made sense to me because you're building on things every day. There's a new piece of information that made sense to the next step. Okay, now I see a pattern here. But like when you give me like one piece of that information every 4 weeks, I'm sleeping through this.
Sure. And that's a public school education right there.
So so my dad, after getting into high school and I was getting going, he went, "Oh, you're not dumb."
Yeah.
But so by the time I graduated,
you were just hiding.
I was just hiding. I was just taking a nap.
Yeah, biding your time for the big win. So you were in for how long?
3 years.
So it came
3 years
down
active, 3 years inactive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does that mean? So you
6 years total. So if for anything happened major in that second 3 years, they would have shipped me out.
So even when you said I'm not going to West Point, you were inactive on duty.
Yep. Yeah, they basically sent me back to Fort Hood after I declined that appointment. I was in Fort Hood for about a year.
Did they guilt you? Did they bust your balls?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
So they had brass pull you into their office and say, you're throwing something away here.
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
And you were
what
like,
are you doing?
Yeah,
I'm making the right choice. Is what I'm doing.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
You're a disappointment to the country.
I'm so well adjusted now. I'm so glad I made that choice.
But were you as smart? Did you ever cause any trouble though in the military?
No, not really. I had a good time, kind of. I mean, the weird thing about the military is that, especially in the Army at that time, you're kind of coasting in a way. You realize when you're looking at those things, now that, I look back, there were things that they were training us for that we weren't about to do for another 10, 15 years. But they were training us for them then.
Like what?
Desert training.
Oh, really?
And we're talking about, only a few years out of Vietnam, and we weren't doing any kind of like swamp training. It was all desert training back in 1984.
Oh, really?
82.
So we're done with swamps.
Yeah, we were
rice paddies.
We were desert training in 1979, 80.
So they knew that,
and they knew where they were going.
Really?
Yeah.
And did you realize that in retrospect? I mean,
retrospect, absolutely. As soon as I saw us going into the Gulf War, I would have been a lieutenant, a water bar lieutenant for the first Gulf War of Version 1.
80. What was that?
That was 90.
90.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were out. You're already out. Like
already out. Yeah.
Way out, right? When did you get out?
85. So 88 was my end of sentence.
So sort of just under
the radar. Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah. So all right. So you turned down West Point, and what made you decide to go to art school? I mean, what was what?
I'd always kind of been that guy. If you look back on, like, when you were a kid, like, you had that weird little aptitude booklets that they have you fill out when you're in kindergarten and all that.
Yeah.
Always, if you look at the back page, it's like, what do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I always had on there artist and soldier.
Artist.
I checked too. I don't know why. I think.
Yeah. I think I've never heard that as a title, but I think it's a good title for something. An artist soldier. It's sort of a frightening idea.
Martial art.
Sure. So okay, so you did the soldier thing. So now you're like, I got to check that other one off. Artist. This was a kindergarten dream.
Yep.
I'm not going to sell that kid out.
I'm painting. goddammit.
Shut up. I'm painting. So what did you study in art school?
Sculpture, printmaking.
Sculpture.
Yeah.
Did you do some sculptures?
No. I chased a lot of other
art
students.
School girls?
Maybe.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm married now. So no, I just did art.
Okay, man. You can't. The past is the past, right?
The past is the past.
You say that, but they will hold you responsible for that past.
Absolutely.
If you go into it.
Yeah. No, I just painted.
Mm-hmm. No sculpture, just painting. So it was actually visual arts that you did?
Yeah, it was kind of, as it turns out, the one I went to one in Michigan, just because I figured I'd be closer, at least be able to visit my dad during the school. But it turns out it was more of a design, computer-aided design and advertising design kind of school. So there's a small, like, rebellious little fine arts section in that school, and I was part of that rebel team.
And what were you painting? What were your particular rebellious activities?
My biggest thing I was doing was printmaking. I really enjoyed, like, laying out, using copper plates and doing all the etching and stuff. Really a lot of I liked the process. I liked the idea of, like, taking this blank piece of copper, coming up with some kind of image, and then somehow figuring out a way to get this on paper.
Right.
With all these things that could go wrong in the process.
The chemicals where you had to lift this thing out, those plates, and you had to do two colors, so you had to line them up. Mm-hmm. Were you doing art prints, or were you or posters or anything?
No, just real nice pieces of, like, small handmade paper that you do the etchings on. Yeah, Italio printing.
And that, where are those?
I have them in a drawer somewhere. I did several.
Hey man, when the shit hits the fan, right. I see an art show. There's some high priced shit. The early prints.
Maybe I can get in wherever Paul Stanley's showing his crap.
Oh boy, lucky you! I tell you, what does he show? Just different pictures of animals and
photos of wigs or something.
Yeah. All right, so you're doing that, you're digging that, and then when did you give yourself the name Maynard?
Just after high school.
Yeah,
like it was.
What was that? Where
it was some of that crap poetry I was writing. Like had a character in it that was a Maynard character, and then in the Army. when I was at West Point running a lot. I was running, miles and miles a day, and I started losing a lot of weight, and I started kind of looking like the character that I'd drawn for that poetry.
Yeah.
And my friends were starting to call me Maynard.
And that just stuck.
And it was kind of a nickname for a moment. Then when I moved, it's weird. When you move to a new place, you have a blank slate.
Right.
You can just be whoever you want because
Sure.
they don't know you.
Right.
So I just introduced myself as Maynard.
And just
to see if it would stick.
Yeah.
To see if anybody would go like, why would anyone call themselves Maynard? I call bullshit.
Well, I mean, there's got to be a few Maynards, and I mean, if there's going to be a Maynard anywhere, it's going to be in the Army.
True.
You're probably one of many Maynards. You didn't meet any other Maynards?
No, I didn't come across any. Myrons? Morons?
Morons,
yeah,
maybe.
Got a couple of those.
But, so all this running, I mean, did you ever, get a sense that you were just kind of, medicating yourself? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, when you were not running, were you filled with rage? Was there unresolved shit?
Are we not Irish?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but you seem to, you didn't. It doesn't sound like you kicked too many asses or got yourself in too much trouble. You just kept running.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because that's a real kind of brain changer.
Yeah,
and you were running every day.
Yep.
Did you ever? Can you kind of check where when you stopped running that you started to create more?
Oh yeah.
When did that happen?
I moved to. When I went to art school in Michigan, I just kind of stopped running there because I'd broken my ankle in the Army at some point, so I kind of put a skip.
Doing what?
Just messing around, slipping on a linoleum floor.
Oh,
just
really?
Kind of cracked
Do they
my
get?
ankle.
Is there a medal for that? Do you have a?
No,
There's no medal for the slipping on a linoleum.
The medal attached to the mop that you end up getting handed when you can't go out in the field.
There you go, dummy.
Yeah. Here's what happens when you mess up and you hurt your ankle. We put you to work harder because you're a dumbass.
Yeah. Because we can't use you now for anything but cleaning.
You've damaged government property, sir.
That's it. So you get back to Michigan, you're not running, and you're starting to be an artist, and shit's starting to seethe up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I ended up dropping out of the art school because I got so involved in kind of making music with friends. I was, just kind of in that scene.
What was that? What does that look
your head
like?
Off.
Punk rock?
Yeah, punk rock-ish. Yeah, like the
art music?
somewhere between Black Flag, Metallica, and Plasmatics.
Right.
Something in there.
So there's a show to it.
And Joni Mitchell.
Sure, little Joni Mitchell. Did you do any Joni Mitchell covers? You like to do covers.
Yeah.
When's the Pussifer Joni Mitchell cover?
When hell freezes over. I've already got enough shit for doing covers. So.
For the Tori Ann, what'd you do it? Did you do it?
I've done a bunch of covers, and I'm having fun and just do it like.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah. I like when I heard Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm like, it's like it's a challenge.
Yeah,
and it's a fun. Let's see if we can do that.
Yeah, like set it up. Let's do it.
You get shit for doing covers.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine the
never mind. Never mind that my catalog as it stands as originals is larger than most people's, but Yeah, give me shit about doing covers on top of all the other stuff.
I can't imagine, what the Tool Army looks like and what it has evolved into. I can't imagine what type of grown-ups you helped create.
Well, that poster you always see, that's like the Neanderthal guy kind of, and finally he stands upright.
Yeah, that should be just says Tool fan at the end or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, you got to cut it off somewhere right in the middle before it gets to the end. I'm just kidding, guys. Don't get all angry.
Oh, fuck. All right, so you're doing something.
It's Tool. Shut up.
Yeah,
I don't hate you.
They can't. You can't win really.
No.
Because you can only do what you've done once on some level, and eventually, if you try to change it all, you're gonna have a fucking bunch of people going, "No, he's not. That's not the guy he used to be."
Yeah, because he's not 49 or anything.
Yeah, really. He's not grown up and trying to have a life for himself. But all right, so the type of music you're doing is theatrical. And kind of punk rock, and
we're having fun. Yeah, there's a cool movement in Grand Rapids at that point in time. One of my favorite bands. I just had a friend of mine, Brian, in Michigan, who put together this collection of a band called Born Without a Face. Nice fusion band of it kind of definitely right in that somewhere between Black Flag and Metallica feel to it. And they were a short-lived band because they had, they were going through drummer problems, exploding drummers.
I don't. Bands. I have no idea how all that works.
But it was a really solid band, and in fact, I listened to it in the car on the way here.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a nice trip down memory lane. But
yeah,
it was a solid amount of work it was going on in that town. So, and there's a little scene. There's several little clubs around the area, all the way to North Muskegon, all the way up to, down to.
So they were
Grand
regional
Rapids.
heroes.
Yeah, it was a.
And they rocked hard.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And they kind of influence you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the bands like that. There's several in the area that had some really interesting things that they were doing.
But they were taking hard rock and sort of the beginning of metal and building something else.
Yeah, they were the original. They were kind of like, if you look back at the guys, or they were kind of like, no offense to these guys, but they were kind of the original hipster douchebags before you would refer to people as hipster douchebags.
But not,
they were like in a good way. Like they were like the guys who were like trying to just live a simple life,
right?
Not putting on the simple life. And
I'm just trying to figure out what arc, where on the hipster arc are we talking? We're not talking like precious haircuts and songwriting. We're talking like sort of off the grid. Like we're real deal artists.
Shopping at Goodwill when Goodwill was actually Goodwill,
right?
And just out of necessity, and just being like kind of somewhere between Hesher and just like simple living,
right?
Like simple living dudes that were like simple living dudes,
right? But long hairs.
Yeah, kind of long hairs, but not like dumb.
Not effective.
They were smart. They were going to go on to college. They were going to do these things, and not from a huge, extremely rich background. Just kind of kids who were just trying to find their way.
Did you gravitate at all towards? I imagine. It might be a little late already, but was the Husker Du and the Replacements, and were they around then, or it just wasn't on your radar?
It was right around the same, because this is 85 to 88 era, so it was very right in the middle of it all. I'd already seen Black Flag and Texas
with Rollins.
Back in Texas in the Army. So I saw that stuff happen, but right as all that kind of was ending was when this was kind of happening. So on the heels of the breakup of Black Flag, I guess.
So Black Flag
was already out. I think we were almost on the way to Fugazi.
So Black Flag, as a guy in the Army, must have been sort of like, this is something.
Yeah,
that could happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because he's got that. He's a very regimented dude. I don't know how
back
he was.
then he had
then.
The hair.
He had longer hair, but he was always pretty intense and seemed to take care of himself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him in here. He's he can talk. He'll chat you up for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll keep going. You actually have to turn him off eventually. You're like, all right, Henry, okay. Where's the knob? He's a good guy though. All right, so
I like that guy.
Oh yeah, no, he's a very earnest and decent dude. So then you started doing it, just singing. You never were a player? Or you do play?
I actually played a little bit of bass, not well.
Mm-hmm.
But then kind of went on to kind of doing a little bit of my own singing in those bands. And then Grand Rapids is a very, as I got into it a little farther, it's a very cozy place to live. The rents are low, the families are kind of tight. So a lot of the guys didn't have that, you were talking about, that angst and drive, like that outlet.
Yeah.
I didn't have the running anymore. I was doing more of the screaming. And I kind of I had a drive. I wanted to do more of that.
We also were, stifling a lot of baggage from, baptism and
but those guys didn't need to do it. The guys I was in bands with didn't need that. They were like living at home. They didn't care.
They were okay.
They were fine.
Yeah.
Looked a little bit like the kids from the Columbine thing. But they were good kids, and they were going to go on to do stuff that was stable but very family. So they didn't have the same desire. So I gave it up. I didn't want to do anything. After a while, I just quit. I didn't want to do the music because my experience with wanting to do it and then not having anybody around me that wanted to do it with me to go to the next level was kind of disappointing. So I kind of just stopped, and I went to work in Boston in a pet store.
Wait, so in Boston?
Yeah.
Where?
It used to be called Boston Pet Center. It was down on First Street, down across from Lechmere.
Oh, okay, over
Cambridge.
By Lechmere. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I had a relationship with a parrot in
Bobo.
Alston.
Okay.
There was a pet store, they had this blue macaw.
Yeah, it was probably Bobo.
Yeah?
Bobo, the big blue macaw. Yeah.
You know that parrot?
Most likely it was the one that came from Boston Pet Center when I was there from 87 to 88.
You seriously know the parrot I'm talking about?
Bobo, yeah. Bobo the hyacinth macaw, yeah. But there's only like a handful of those Hyacinth macaws in Boston, and the largest pet store in that area was on First Street in Cambridge.
This one was up in Coolidge Corner.
Okay.
And there was just, you walk in, that dude was there. And I'd go in there and I'd hang out with that parrot.
Yeah, I got to the point where that thing would flip over on its branch, and I would just put my hands out, and he would let go and fall into my hands on his back.
So you spent a lot of time building a relationship with birds.
Yes.
All right, so you go from rock and roll.
Where's this going?
It's good. No, I like it. This is actually exciting to me. So here you are, you're fucking, filled with fury. You're singing your fucking guts out, and you got a bunch of dudes that are like, "Nah, we're gonna hang out," and you're like, "Well, fuck it." So you end up going to Boston just to live a pet store dream. Why'd you end up in Boston?
I had a friend from high school who had moved out there, had a good job. He worked at this wine shop in the north end of Boston at Martinetti's.
Yeah, I know Martinetti's. Yeah.
He used to work there. So he turned me on to like wine and stuff, but I basically just kind of went out there to get out of Grand Rapids and get away from that setting, just to kind of like, I guess in a way, find myself and figure out what the fuck I wanted to do.
So what was your job at the pet store?
Cleaning up bird shit.
That was it.
Yeah,
basically.
Eventually, I ended up becoming the merchandising manager. I took over like all the layout of how the store looked and all the ordering of products and stuff. But that was short lived too.
Did they have they had birds? They have other animals?
Yeah, an insane fish department. Like the saltwater fish department was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like those arowanas. Or
they had
long fish.
Yeah, they had all the crazy stuff. Like people would come in from miles to get some of the saltwater fish that they had in that place. It was huge. It was kind of like twice the size of a pet land nowadays, but like with actual cool stuff in it.
Or like a privately owned, so they cater to unique stuff. Monkeys? No monkeys?
No monkeys.
Dogs,
but I was kind of like instrumental in having them stop that because they just were, they were
puppy farms.
Yeah, they were getting from puppy farms. So I kind of was like, we should probably stop this. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and the birds, they were legit though.
Yeah, they were all legit. A lot of them were like hand raised, hand farmed, like U.S. born and raised and reared out of the California area.
Are you a pretty animal-y guy?
Used to be, yeah.
Yeah. Like so you're handling parrots. And you're building nice things in the store for the pets.
I had an employee there. His name was, coincidentally Mark. Wonderful little queen that he was. And I came in one day and he was absolutely flustered.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mark, and we kind of met. He was kind of feeling me out to see where I was going to go there. And he goes,
what, sexually?
Well, not that, but as a friend, just to see where I was, to see if I had a similar sense of humor.
Yeah.
And he was like, I go, Mark, what's wrong? He's all flustered. And he goes, some authorities came in and they said that they accused me of kissing parrots. I was like, why would they accuse you? They goes, I said, no, I would never kiss a parrot. Maybe a cockatoo.
Oh.
It's like, okay, I see where this is going.
He got you.
Yeah, it's like, and all the comedy that I've been involved in, like I did like fully clotheslined me right in the middle, right in front of a bunch of customers.
Yeah, he got you.
Okay.
Was there a big laugh?
It was a big groan.
Did you take it? You took it well?
I took it well.
All right.
I went,
All right, so we better get to the fucking rock and roll. So, like, at what point did you...
I'm not avoiding the rock and roll. I'm just telling you.
No, it's all right. I think we're laying a good bit of groundwork here.
Yeah.
So you have this relationship with parrots, and you're in Boston. I'm just getting a picture. A younger Maynard working with parrots. Your friend talks to you about wine, so that plants a seed somehow.
Yeah.
Is that where that seed got planted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Martinelli's?
Martinetti's, yeah.
Martinetti's, you walk in and you're like, holy fuck, this is a whole world.
Yeah. Well, it was the weekend thing when he would be, weekday in the summer at that point up on his roof, like grilling some food and opening a bottle of wine and kind of like, there's something to this, whatever this is. There's something that's really, really resonating with me on this kind of family ritual level of making food and drinking this wine.
Oh, really? And also, in my mind, when I started to know more about you, it seems that there's also a sort of a precision to it. There's an art to it, and there's it's a historical thing. I mean, making wine is as old as anything.
Right.
But maybe I was reading into that.
No.
Yeah. All right. So then, where does Tool come in? Where does the first band you were in?
I ended up moving out to L.A. because I had an opportunity to come out and do the similar kind of layout in the stores,
pet stores
stuff out in the L.A. area.
So you were on the fast track to being a big pet store guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was mostly because I could come in and kind of renovate the stores and kind of lay them out properly to, and for example, like one of my early triumphs, whatever. Back then, I would make them put all the larger dog food bags, all the dog food, kind of more toward the back of the store. Mm-hmm. And I got basically yelled at most of the time by the employees. Like, what are you doing? I got to carry this bag of dog food all the way to the front of the store. But now that's standard. You go into like any of the pet lands, it's like more toward the back because they want you to walk by all the toys, all the crap that you're going to pick up.
So you did that.
Well, I was, I'm sure there's a bunch of people doing it at the same time that were thinking in terms of like, how do I keep the person in the store longer? Make them go back to the back of the store to get the thing they need. Right.
I would imagine that nobody, I'm not saying I got a scoop here. But I would imagine that most people are going back to get that big bag of dog food and are walking back on, hey, look at that chew bone.
Right.
They're not giving you credit.
No.
You don't get credit for that. You get shit for covering no quarter, but no one's singing your praises in the pet store community.
On the whole chew bone pickup.
Yeah.
I invented the chew bone pickup.
Yeah, that was me, man.
The squeaky toy pickup.
Yeah,
I invented that. Back
in the day, they weren't even going back there. They wouldn't have bought that fucking chew bone. So, all right, well, that world owes you a gratitude. It's sort of a big thank you to Maynard James Keenan.
I won't be looking for that check on the mail.
Yeah. All right, so you come to L.A. What are we looking at? It's 90 what? 1, 2?
I moved here at the end of '89, December '89.
Okay.
And then started working in pet stores here, and those people quickly realized that they were overpaying me, and I got fired like about 5.5 months in.
Because you were the East Coast guy. This guy's got vision.
East Coast came out to help them whip their stuff and as you know, like most businesses, it's like you can't just like overpay this guy to come in and just do this thing. There's other things you have to do. You have to let people know to come in. You have to do some kind of programs. You have to like advertise stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't really willing to train their staff to really understand what I just did.
Right.
All that. So I kind of like, I was looked at as like, this is just an expense we can't afford.
This guy with the attitude.
Yeah.
The moving the bags around.
Yeah. Who's he?
Yeah, let's get him out of here. All right, so then what happens?
Got fired.
Yeah.
Lost my car, my apartment, my dog.
See, now what happened to the dog?
Got out of the backyard and got lost somewhere.
Where were you living?
I was living in Hollywood, but I dropped the dog off in the valley so I could go apply for jobs. And I got out of my friend's backyard and then never saw it again.
That's fucking heartbreaking. How long had you had that dog?
Long enough. Yeah, it was an awesome little dog.
Ugh, fuck. You still friends with that guy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It wasn't his fault. It was the fence.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So you're out there. Your dog's lost in the valley. How'd you lose your car?
It was owned by the pet store people. It was a loaner.
So the car's gone.
Car's gone. Apartment's gone.
The apartment's gone.
Girlfriend moved out.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is the perfect Hollywood story. So you got nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Your dad's like, I'm not giving you money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
So
he was a teacher. What money?
Yeah, exactly. So then what happens?
Just started. I was going around with friends. There were some. It's Hollywood, so there's like a lot of bands and clubs. And
in '89, that was
90.
In 90,
now we're 90, so you got all this.
Hair metal's over. So it's starting to change.
Just that, it went, and literally overnight, like the December '89, walking through like ankle deep in flyers on Sunset Boulevard to like August of '90, gone.
Yeah,
gone.
All that shit's over.
Yep.
The Roxy's finished.
Yep.
The rainbow's changing. Well, the rainbow is probably just.
It was still there.
Yeah.
Whiskey was still there. There was still the pay to play thing kind of going on a little bit.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, so that ended up translating into me like hanging out with my friends, watching bands play, cynical, bitter. And again, I'm coming from a background of like, I'm looking at this stuff practically.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm looking at a pet store and as a
put the bags in the back.
Metaphor, like what you're doing up there, in a way, this is but I guess beliefs in a way, like people that are godless in some way, if they don't have some kind of belief, for lack of a better term, if you don't believe in magic on some level, your art probably sucks.
Yep.
You got to believe in some kind of magic. I don't mean if it's God or whatever you're into. Like if you're not inspired by, if your heart isn't lifted by some supernatural thing that you have witnessed or you believe in, real or not,
right?
You're probably going to be focusing on your looks, your money,
Right.
You know, there's going to be something you're focusing on that has no heart.
Right. You're going to be hanging your hopes and ambitions on material things,
Right.
And just getting them.
So I would go to these clubs and I would see these bands playing that just seemed they are all focusing on the wrong shit. There was no heart. There was
like,
no
do you
soul.
remember the bands?
No, I can't do that to them. There's probably still around, like fighting for their lives.
Okay.
But you know, they're pretty.
They're looking. They're just like. But you're talking.
You know who you are.
But you're talking about the standard sort of like, I'm going to make it.
Yeah, we're here
in show business.
We're
here to make $1 million.
Yeah, we've got some A&R guys coming down. They're going to check us out, and let's.
Yeah.
We'll try to look like
play the game, right?
Look somewhere between the Chili Peppers meets Nirvana meets Metallica. You know, funny hats and stupid shit. And
no identity of their own.
No songs.
Yeah.
No heart, no songs. Costumes.
Sure. And you felt that.
Yeah, totally.
And you were like, fuck this.
And I'm the drunk guy at the back of the room going, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And somebody enough time, I said that out loud enough times that somebody went, okay, smart fucker, you try it.
Right.
You think you can do better.
Right.
And I went, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was right around the end of 1990, and by 91 we had a record deal and Tool was on its way.
Right. So how'd you meet up with those guys?
The ex that moved out, she introduced me to both Adam Jones and Tom Morello. So they were, and those, you know, high school buddies from Illinois.
Right.
So I ended up meeting them first, and then I think, you know, Adam had heard some stuff that I did in Grand Rapids, and he's like, we should do a band. And I'm like, fuck that. Bands suck. You know, I don't want to do that. Unless we're all in, I don't want to know about it.
All in. That was important.
Yeah, all in or not. So, you know, if I don't want to show up to a practice and have you guys, oh yeah, so and so is hungover, they didn't come.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm doing laundry. I can't take that. We're going to do this, or we're not going to do it.
Because you're the front man. I mean, if you're going to have a band, they have to, you know, you got your thing.
Right.
So, like, how do we drive this thing?
Right. We got to do it. Either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it. So
you
if
found
we're not
your
going to do
guy.
it, I'll go do other things. So
Right.
So, you know, but he was like going, let's do this thing. And
You go do
finally-
other things. Stand in the back of bars going, these guys suck.
Yeah. So he finally convinced me because I got that challenge by some anonymous, you know, prick nudging me like my Irish Italian flare up. Like, fuck you, I will.
Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
And you started laying down tracks?
Yeah, we were just playing around, just going, okay, it was mainly just because of the challenge. Like, okay, I'll show you how to do this better. I don't necessarily want to do this all my life.
But you got a hell of a band there,
but
right?
I'll show, but I didn't know. I mean, we're just like, I just wanted to do things right.
Right.
I wanted to come from the place where we're doing it right, so you can go, here's how you do it. Now you go do it.
Right.
What, I got to keep doing it? No, you do it. I want to go over here. I want to do this other thing.
I was here to teach you a lesson.
I was just here. Yeah, I don't want to do this. This is like insane. No, I don't want to sign your tit. Fuck. Go away.
I'm here to make a point.
I'm just here to make a point.
About passion. So, all right. So the first Tool album was basically a fuck you.
Yeah.
To whatever was going on.
Yeah.
And that was exactly, apparently, what everyone needed.
Apparently.
Yeah, because people were like, who the fuck are these guys?
Right.
And you set a standard.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to
a
do.
standard on our own little terrarium, yeah.
But it was on your own terms, and you were reacting
Yes.
towards where music was going. It was like in that weird, post-hair metal fucking, confused area.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I mean, grunge hadn't really started yet, or was just starting.
We were on the heels of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that was kind of going.
That's right.
That's why we got
That's right.
signed, is because nobody in the music industry understood what was happening. So they were just signing anything.
Right.
They weren't sure. They didn't
because
know.
I guess what? So Nirvana, Nevermind was like 89 or 90, something like that.
Yeah.
So that was all, and Pearl Jam was doing their thing, and so they had found, they thought they hit some fucking gold up there.
Right.
They tapped that out, and L.A. was still sort of like recovering from hair metal.
Right.
And then you kind of filled that gap with Rage Against the Machine and some other, who were the other bands around?
At that time in L.A., you had some pretty furious stuff that was going on in L.A. Dumpster was a band that was running around. But, Helmet was out of another area, but... those are the bands that kind of...
Page Hamilton?
Yeah, that was kind of in the wake of all that. Like, we were kind of coming up. And, Rage, Tool, Dead, White, and Blue. There's a couple good bands that were running around.
What would you call it? I mean, I know you've probably been framed, but you were just playing rock?
Yeah, we were just like rock, I guess. It was like, I guess we were we weren't really considered grunge because we didn't have the costumes.
No,
right.
but you guys were, but it's articulated.
Flannel was all itchy. No.
Yeah, but the music was different. I mean, there, the sort of attention paid to, I don't know. The grunge thing was a little loose, and if you listen, like, I don't even know if Pearl Jam was really grunge, and I don't think so, because when I heard the first Pearl Jam album, I'm like, oh, Bad Company's back. This guy can sing like Paul Rodgers, but better. And then Nirvana was doing another thing, but it wasn't holding together this. There was a looseness to it, but you guys were always pretty fucking on fucking top of it.
Yeah.
Were you? Do you know Claypool?
A little bit.
Because he seems kind of anal about shit too. I mean, I know there's a lot of dudes that are, but it just seemed to me that the shit was orchestrated. It was tight as fuck. Right. It had momentum. It had drive, and the lyrics were just searing into the fucking hearts and minds of junior high school kids everywhere.
Right.
That was the plan?
No. Again, no. It was just like, here's your 101 of how to do this properly.
Well, when you talk about the magic, I mean, because, like, I'm late to come around to you, like, even when I had friends, when you were hanging around with comedians, and, I know you were a Hicks fan, and I know people loved you, like, I couldn't connect with the music. It's just not the way I was built at the time.
Right.
Not you, but, I wasn't a metal guy.
Right.
And so when Dave Cross and people like Posehn and these people were like, you got to do the Tool. He hangs out here. I'm like, I'm trying, and I listen to it. And I'm like, this shit is tight and it's great, But I'm like, it's too big for me. But I knew that the impact was there. So when you talk about magic and you talk about beliefs, what were you talking about? Because people who've seen you, like my chick has seen you a few times. And she's like, oh my God, Maynard's coming. So there was that.
No, I'm not signing her tit.
Really? Fuck. I got to call her because she's coming over.
Put those away, honey.
Yeah. But you're going to see my signatures there, so you're going to have to fight with that.
Yeah. Which one?
Yeah. What was it, the magic? What were you drawing from? I mean, when you say something like that, whether if you don't have God, and I believe this is true, that there's a fundamental thing in all people that sort of, you got to feel part of something. Mm-hmm. What was it for you?
I just think in general, just life in general, there's a lot of good inspirational friction all around you. So if you just tap into the core of whatever that is, whatever's happening and trying to drive you psychologically, that's kind of a beginning space.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of build on some of that, just that juxtaposition. But also like friction.
Right. But also is the first album you're talking about Opiate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that album was there, you were you were sort of cutting some sort of path for yourself in this sort of, fuck God, fuck your order, there was definitely that element to it where you were like, wake up, you're being easily led, and you're being, and you're living in a hypocrisy. And that became sort of a through line, that and sort of, provocative, filthy stuff.
Right.
Where you're like,
you gotta add the buttfuck song in there.
Sure,
somewhere.
yeah. Like, I mean, the fact that when I talked to my buddy Brendan, he was like, when the fisting song came out, I'm like, what do you mean fisting? Their big hit was about fisting.
Actually it was, but it wasn't. It was about completely losing touch with just being just needing to have so much stimulation. You've lost touch with how much stimulation you need to be stimulated.
Right. The lyrics definitely speak to that.
The fisting was the joke part. The fisting was the throwaway joke part. But the actual meat of something like that was about like, guys, you need to get back in the field and start digging some holes or shoveling
take
some
your
snow.
arm out of that guy's ass.
Yeah, and go shovel some snow. Wash your hand first, because I don't really want to pick up a shovel with shit all over it.
Right, and I get the message of that. But he was like, that, you don't understand, man. That was like, that was on regular radio. And I'm like, well, how did I, and so now I got to go really sort of assess the
Now I got to go look up the shit butt fuck song.
And also I was told that, because I don't want to assume that I know more than I do, that as a performer, you were sometimes wary to take front and center.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I just felt like it was as an organism, it works better in that instance with the kind of I guess just the vibe of it.
Right.
There's a flavor to it that doesn't really make any sense to have a single thing in front.
Yeah. But you were a front man of a rock band.
Yeah, I guess, but no, I kind of always thought of it as like almost like a theater troupe. You know, where there's 4 actors, or not actors, but like 4 performers, kind of looking for a specific goal. Like, and it might be the military background,
right?
Like,
So you were a team spirit.
Yeah.
And all you guys
SEAL
had
Team 4.
Right. And you had an understanding of that. You and the dudes. You were like, this is what we do.
It wasn't even an understanding. It was just what we did.
It wasn't that calculated?
No. It just wasn't. I think it just ended up being, that's kind of where am I comfortable here?
So after Opiate, Undertow was a big record.
I think so, yeah.
Which was and then the third one, Anima, is it pronounced? Mm-hmm. That was the huge record.
Yeah.
And that was the one that you did and dedicated to Bill.
Yes.
And what was your, how does Hicks integrate into where you're coming from? What was it about Bill? I mean, I know what it was, ideologically and creative-wise.
Yeah, creative-wise. I think for me, just that most people, I mean, one of my...
When did you first see him? Did you know him?
Somebody gave us the cassette ages ago, and it was before... I think we actually thanked him or mentioned him on Undertow in the thank yous. But he wasn't actually dedicated until Anima. We actually put the piece in, and that's after he passed away.
Right, so he was still alive.
94 is when he died. So he had a thank you on the 93, 92 album.
And just because you were listening to his shit in the van, kind of thing. And
the thing about that, I mean, jumping around a little bit, that movie Shakes the Clown.
Goldthwait's movie, yeah.
I think that was a fantastic metaphor for that fight for the comedians trying to get the Tonight Show. That whole metaphor of dealing with all that, hoping that you're going to be Johnny Carson someday, being chosen for that position.
Right.
And Hicks just wasn't interested in that.
Yeah.
He wasn't a part of that. He just I want to do stand up, that's what I do. That's it. For me, that was the end-all, be-all. And you could see that passion. It's no, I'm going to develop this art. I'm going to take this art as far as I can take it in this form. I'm not interested in using this as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. Which
is exactly how you felt when you were watching those the wave crash of the hair metal band.
Yeah. You missed the whole boat. So there's only going to be one Carson. How are you going to manage that?
And why is that the end-all, be-all? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, Hicks was definitely.
That doesn't seem like a fun thing to get into.
Right. So the rebel spirit and the sort of individual vision thing, and also he was great. I mean, his jokes were great, and it was a horrible thing when he died. Because the picture you have on the Anima record that was inside of it, I mean, that was one of the. He was sick then, right? Yeah. I mean, I know that picture. Yeah, because he was thin, and and he was,
and that was taken from a photo when he played down south here, at
Igby's.
Yep,
it was one. That was the last show, right?
I was there.
You were there?
Yeah,
when he was kind of bloated and And were you there as a friend? You knew him at that point, or?
I knew him. It was weird. We had this weird, I'm going to call it psychic because I'm not really a hippie, but we had a little bit of a connection. So I remember having an awful dream at some kind of motel, 2-level motel, and
on the road.
Yeah, I think it was out somewhere. Yeah. And I kind of knew his one of his managers, Colleen
McGarr.
Yeah. And
Duncan.
Yeah. I called him the next morning because I had this weird dream. It was all these friends of ours, and we're at a motel. And everybody's kind of walking through that breezeway between both sides, and up and down the stairs. Everybody's crying, and Bill's not there.
Right.
So I called Colleen or Duncan the next morning, and I said, "I had this fucked up dream.
Yeah.
How is Bill okay?"
Yeah.
And Duncan was like, "I can't talk about it."
Really?
I was like, "Whoa!" And so then a month or so later, he said, "Yeah, he's sick.
Yeah,
he's sick, and it's not good."
And when did you meet him?
He came out to Lollapalooza in '93, out here in LA, outside of town.
Yeah,
and actually did a thing on our stage at that show.
Oh yeah, what did he do?
Introduced us basically.
Did he do any bits?
A little bit.
Yeah, how'd it go over?
Well, yeah,
it's Lollapalooza. Yeah.
No, didn't go. I laughed.
Yeah, did you spend time with him?
Not a lot. A lot of phone conversations. We had a little love affair on the phone. Talked a lot. We were going to basically put together a tour because it was still when the band was young and still kind of up and coming.
Before Anima.
Yeah,
after
way
Opiate.
before.
Yeah.
So we were still at that level that we could probably pull something like that off.
Because he always wanted to, he was pretty insistent on some of that music stuff.
God bless him.
Yeah.
We'll just gloss over that.
I actually played guitar with him once.
How'd that go?
It was interesting because it must have been '89, and he was living in New York briefly, and I was about maybe a year or two into being a comic, really. And I had moved to New York around that time, and I knew of Bill, and it was hard not to know of Bill. But he was hanging around, I remember he was at the Improv, and, he wasn't sure why he was in New York, because he really couldn't get over there. They didn't quite understand. Well, I mean, America in general couldn't understand literally the reaction was like, why is he so angry? Well, that's what he does.
Yeah.
But in New Yorkers are like, why can't he we're all angry. It's like,
hello, you're in New York.
Right. But he was there, and he had a little apartment, up by Times Square. And I'm like, well, what are you doing, man? And it's like, well, I play guitar. You want to play guitar? He's like, I don't really do other people. I don't hang around. I'm like, come on, we'll just hang out and play. I just remember going over there, and he was nervous because he really didn't hang out with anybody.
Right.
And you can tell by his guitar playing that, he's very, he's a noodler,
Right.
So I was trying to get a groove going, and Bill's just like, going off on his own thing, and we did it for a couple hours, and I'm glad we did it, but it was very specific. He,
doesn't play well with others.
Exactly,
yeah.
But that was interesting. That would have been interesting. Had you talked about what you might have done, or was it just he'd do comedy, you'd do music?
We were trying to figure out what we were going to do. We were trying to figure out how we would work that into where it somehow would be accepted in that form. And even then, it was hard for us to be accepted in that form, because we would play somewhere and you'd have these moshing skinhead dudes going, play faster, and be like, listen slower or something.
Right.
I don't know. I don't really know. This is what we're doing. You came here. I don't know. You came to see us. I'm not sure why I'm supposed to give you what you want. I'm here to do
that's
this
sort
thing.
of the ongoing struggle of the harder, when you're doing that type of music, you're going to be up against some pretty thick heads.
Yeah.
That may not, but it seems a lot of people resonated emotionally with what you were doing,
right?
And that's really what brought you your core following.
So we figured if we were early enough on, and Bill and I discussed this, it was early enough on in our career where we think we could at least weed out the people that didn't want to see that,
right?
Somehow resonate that on some level, and it just, then all of a sudden, it was just like, then I had that dream, and it was like,
that was it.
Yeah.
He's sick.
Yeah, we can't do it. Well, we were going to do it.
Did you go to the funeral?
No.
Yeah. And when you gave him, where you sampled that stuff on Anima, that was a tribute.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a sad bit of business. And when did you sort of kind of integrate yourself into the LA comedy community with Mr. Show and those guys?
That was right when I was moving to Arizona. I moved to Arizona right around the end of 95.
Yeah.
And I was kind of introduced to that circle right around 90.
Who pulled you in?
My old roommate, Gary Helsinger.
Uh-huh.
I will give Gary a prop now. He's going to be so delighted to hear his name on a podcast.
Yeah.
If he even knows how to operate a computer.
And how did you, were they all fans?
He took me over to Luna Park.
Luna Lounge, or Luna Park, right, Beth Lapita's show.
Yeah.
Okay.
There, and of course, then I got involved. That's where I met some of those guys, and got involved with Laura Milligan over at the
who's on the cover of the Pussifer album.
Yes.
Which, when I got that record, I'm like, is this a comedy record? I know Laura. Literally, it got sent to me by a fan. Not you didn't send it to me. I got it. You sent me one too, and I'm like, what is this fucking record? And finally, I'm like, all right. I'll put it on. I'm like, holy shit. What is it? And it's like, oh, it's fucking Maynard. All right.
Yeah.
That happened in reality.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you met Laura.
She had Tantrum. Was her club over there on at the Diamond Club on Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And, some nights Tenacious D would close her show.
Yep.
And some nights I would close her show as her fictitious boyfriend who was supposed to close the show but never did. He was, now he's coming down and he's kind of a metal dude. And it was kind of in the wake of that whole end of Sunset Strip thing. So her boyfriend Vince was kind of a hairband metal douche. but he's always trying to reinvent himself. So like this week he was like a Dead or Alive kind of band.
Oh, right.
Next week he was like, I'm grunge now. Like, now we're punk rock.
And that was you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And that was kind of the original versions of Pussifer, was like just putting on these different things. A core guy trying to be all these different people.
Right. Did you find that was a reality for you, like in terms of your stage persona? I mean,
It was fun.
But I mean, as Tool, I mean, did you find yourself kind of dealing with the identity thing?
Yeah, I think, most guys used to, famous actors or whatever, they say it's a lot, it ends up helping them when they put on the costume, because they can kind of become the other thing. You take yourself outside of yourself. Right. And it's almost easier to open up and do things. Right. So that's what, for me, that was always performing with whatever band, even with Perfect Circle, putting on the mop, the Cousin It wig, to just kind of hide behind that really helped.
Because you could speak differently.
Yeah.
Or you could. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. And because like you look at pictures of you over the years, you're like, well, does this guy even know who he is?
No. No idea. Look at my ID. Yeah.
I didn't know whether I was going to be scared of you or not.
Nothing to be scared of.
So you did some stuff with Mr. Show. You were in the famous the Ronnie Dobbs thing.
The Ronnie Dobbs sequence in the actual series, and we did a little song with Brian Posehn in the movie.
Yeah. Are you friends with Posehn?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but yeah.
He's doing good, man.
Yeah.
He's off the weed. He's a daddy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Do you drink?
I drink wine.
Yeah. I guess you would have to.
Yeah. But I don't do any of the weed stuff or any of that. I can't. I think I put my time in college.
Wasn't one of your records sort of like driven by like recovery language or no?
Perfect Circle, yeah. We had the
13th Step. That's right.
Step.
Right.
Yeah. There are lots of good inside jokes in that one.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Because I had a lot of friends who were in the program, so like I inserted a bunch of good stuff. So if you were like in the program, you get all the stuff, you listen to some songs like, oh dude. Yeah. I know about that one.
The only people in the program know what the 13th Step is.
Yeah.
It's not suggested, but it always happens.
Highly discouraged. And often occurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right. So I guess we should go ahead and deal with the wine thing now. I mean, let's come full circle.
Whoops.
Yeah. Because you've got there's an EP, a Pussifer EP, and there's 3 records or 2 records?
There's 2 full length and 2 EPs. And a remix one.
Right. And the idea of that was that, with whatever downtime you have, you're just taking liberties to do what the fuck you want.
Yeah.
And loosen it up and just explore what you want to do. Bohemian Rhapsody is one of those things.
Yeah, that's one of those. I mean, because we have a studio set up, so it's fairly easy to go in and kind of just do some things when we have some stuff prepared to work on.
And you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of coming from the kind of rock live band, no click track, kind of like very live music background with Tool. And then a little more structured, kind of emotional version of that for Perfect Circle. Still live music for the most part. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of blending the more programmed technical.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't want to be
more electronic.
Right. I don't want to be rude, but like it seems like it's danceable.
Yeah, well, electronic stuff but melding it with, I mean, because every day, you're part of the clock. The seasons, the Earth in general is a big clock, and you are walking to a click track whether you like it or not. Sure. So, the beauty of like working with some of that more what would for most people would be a confined space of a click track of a set rhythm, you can find your humanity in that. You can kind of bend around some of those clicks and make that clock feel more human. And that's, to me, is the challenge with that project, is to work with the digital world and breathe a breath of life and vibrancy into that, what would normally be a stiff format.
I can hear that. Because like after filling my head with Tool for hours and then going to Pussifer, there's a moment where you're sort of like, hey, I could kind of dance to this.
There you go.
So, like, I don't want to call it
get in your underwear and
sure, man. I mean, I mean, it's definitely a harder dance. Yeah. But
so wear sensible underwear,
right? But there's a different groove, right?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
And are you friends with Reznor?
I mean, we met.
Yeah. Oh, because he that seems to be something he enjoys, fucking machines and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's the master of that.
Yeah. All right. So when you left for Arizona and you had the vision of the vineyard, was that was this a business decision or a passion?
I just kind of wanted to. I felt like I'd lived in L.A. long enough that I felt like I was losing touch with those core things that I built my life on. Which
was snow shoveling.
Yeah, just connecting with that process of earth and growing and putting time in. And I feel like in LA there's the majority of the population are not really sure where their water or food come from.
Right.
Kind of losing. I think you kind of start to lose touch with some of that. You start, like I mentioned earlier, that belief system. You start really focusing on your looks or your power or your money, and if, as soon as you start focusing on those things, you're never going to have enough of any of those. You're always going to feel older and fatter than you were the day before. Like this, you kind of lose touch with those kind of things. And you don't really have time for that when you're actually working in a field or getting up when the sun comes up to do a thing, because if you don't get up when the sun comes up, you lose the sun by the time you're not done with your job, by the time the sun goes down. So kind of tuning yourself to that, I felt like I had to get out of L.A. because I felt like the music was going to suffer if I didn't.
So you literally needed to ground yourself with the ground.
Yes. Yeah. Quite literally. Had to get out and be able to see the sky.
Right.
And understand where the water came from.
Right. And you built out the vineyards. How long did it take to get you? What was this apprenticeship you did? First of all, did you do it in Italy or anything?
No, I just worked in a custom cross facility. Just kind of working as basically an intern, an unpaid intern.
Where?
Just like in Arizona, and then ended up once I kind of got my feet wet and kind of understood some of the basic processes, the 101s of it. I immediately called on a bunch of my friends that I met, around the world who are winemakers, world-class winemakers, and I would call on them and go, okay, now I have specific questions now that I've actually done this.
And you'd already talked to them at some point.
Yeah, we were already friends with them. So
from traveling? Like
traveling,
you would seek these people out when you were touring with Tool?
Yeah.
Because you had the bug. You were like, I'm going to make a vineyard somewhere.
Yeah. So
I'm going to be a
being
winemaker.
Able to reach out to Peter Gago, who's the head winemaker at Penfolds, finally establishing a relationship with him. A couple winemakers in California, and you just end up having that knowledge base you can bounce the questions off of from people who've actually done it. Now that I've actually met a few guys in Italy, same thing. You go, whenever I have a question, I send out an email to each one with a very specific set of parameters. And of course, setting up like, my grapes, my soil, my weather is not like yours, but here's the scenario that I'm looking for.
Right.
And I usually get some good feedback.
And so you're like, how many vineyards are there in Arizona?
There's quite a few vineyards. There's fewer actual, probably an even number of wineries compared to that. But
you do both?
Yeah, I have vineyards and I have my own winery. Yeah.
Now, once you got your education in place and you understood soils and grapes and everything else, was there, I guess, was there a specific type of grape you were looking to get? That seems to be the racket, right? Is that what's the best grape that can perform?
And we're still, we're starting to kind of narrow that down as a winemaking community in Arizona, but I suspect that we're going to do okay with Syrahs and kind of Southern Rhone grapes. But
why?
I suspect
because
more
they grow better there.
Well, I think more so the Italian and Spanish varietals. So like your Sangioveses, your Tempranillos from Spain, your Barberas, Nebbiolos. I think that stuff, just because the soil, the weather, everything about it kind of lends itself to those grapes. So I think you'll see in the next 10, 15 years, you'll see a lot of that stuff coming out of Arizona with some recognition. Like people going, no, this is for real.
And you're going to be you're sort of going to be a pioneer there.
I wouldn't call myself a pioneer. I think there's a lot of guys that are doing stuff there. Just it's one of those almost like that kind of 100 monkey theory. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of people that decided, I think now's the time. Like intuitively, you kind of like it all resonated at the same time. So all of a sudden, that tide started rising there all over the state. So I definitely I'm the biggest mouth for sure because I have a platform that I can stand on and shout from. Mm-hmm. But no, there's a bunch of people that have been doing it for a while.
And
there.
How many different wines do you do a year? Like, I mean,
I have roughly 20 different wines that I'm doing.
And the primary difference in each is time and grapes?
Yeah, where the grapes are from, like what block they're from, and just kind of how I'm putting them together for a blend.
Uh-huh. And you're sort of hands-on all the time with this?
Yeah, my wife runs the lab, I make the wine, and we have a very large gentleman named Derek who cleans up after me. So it's a three-person operation, not counting, of course, my vineyard manager.
And what's the vineyard called?
Caduceus Cellars and Merkin Vineyards.
Merkin Vineyards.
Yeah, I figured you were fishing for that one.
I just recently learned what a Merkin was.
There you go.
Yeah, it takes me a while to get onto. And my girlfriend had to tell me after we saw a movie. She said, "There's a lot of Merkins in that movie." I'm like, "What the fuck is a Merkin?"
See, I had to go into winemaking and music because I think I'm way more clever than I am. So like I'm not really funny. I couldn't really make it as a comedian because I'm not. I laugh at my own jokes, which aren't funny, and I'd make dumb puns like lowest on the food chain for jokes, like Merkin.
But I think it's pretty. But I think it's interesting the way especially with your love of comedy and your understanding of Bill Hicks, is that what you did in sort of a clever way, whatever you think you might lack in wit, that the power of the message you were putting through, you knew had to be tempered by something. That and when you did sort of attach satire to it, by doing the fisting song or by donkey punch the night away, like I mean, it may be base, but what it's pushing through is some real heartfelt shit.
Yeah,
and there's a balance that you don't want to be too clever.
No,
because then everyone thinks
clever is right on the edge of annoying.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So like the crass element of satire is fucking important, man. Yeah. I mean that's how you punch the big things through.
Right.
Donkey punch them through. Right?
Yeah.
And the future of Tool?
I'm going to stop by the rehearsal space today, in theory, having beaten them up, going, please give me music, please give me music, please give me music, please give me music. In theory, they have a CD for me today to listen to some jams so we can get this thing going.
Okay. You got words?
Not till I hear this. Not till I hear the sounds.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, I can't. We gotta hear the sounds, and I can't write words till I hear the sounds, and I haven't heard the sounds.
That's your process, though. You don't ever just sort of like, oh, I got an idea for a lyric. You got to listen to the music.
You got to listen to the sounds and go from the sounds.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maynard.
No problem.
Well, that's it. That's the show. Very nice guy and a very smart guy. And a diplomatic dude, man. I enjoy talking to him, man. I still am listening to Tool. I will let you know that. That's where I'm at. I'm trying to have it. I'm trying to have that same experience that I would have had if I had just fucking been a little younger. As I said before, I'm going to be in Denver this weekend. Go to WTFpod.com. Check the calendar if you want to know my dates. Check the episode guide if you want to know who's been on the show. Get the app. Get the free app, and then decide for yourself whether you want to upgrade and have the opportunity to listen to all of the shows. All 400 and some odd shows. I will be getting more ceramic mugs. Go to justcoffee.coop. Get the WTF blend. I got a little off of that. Do what you got to do. I'll talk about Breaking Bad eventually. I've had to do some of these shows ahead of time, and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But of course I fucking love it. Are you fucking kidding me? Boomer live!